Or had you already started on that though?
I reached out to the guy.
Okay.
I told him I was going to wait for the sizes and let him know in a couple of days. But he said he was ready.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if anything, we can have her work on some new shirts that we could try to hustle. That
Yeah, for sure.
Thing.
Yeah, she's down for whatever.
So, me and Kobe had our little run.
He said he was ready. We hot mics, by the way.
Yeah, that I realized. Well, we were all the way live. That was the thing.
From the Sunshine State, the great state of Florida, and what does your Uncle Charlotte always say? The craziest people in America come from the Bronx and all of Florida.
I'm Bae Bubba, cross my black car. It's booby traps and pit bulls cross my backyard. I'm still strapped, boy, these handguns on Vanguard. I like going against the grain cause my head hard. Bae, I used to thug hard to see this crack hard. I don't thug nothing but the motherfucking task force. Me and 2 Root running shit, we like the fat boys. Paid cash for it, so I try this and fast forward. I put it all in your face like you asked for. Most of you love frontin' like the dashboard. I get it chalked out like the blackboard. I got the ghetto off glass like the backboard. Most of my ride till it ain't no gas for. We been outside like ain't no map for. Been outside like ain't no map for.
I swear to God, these motherfucking jits in Florida is different. Man, I was at this house the other night. Gave her little son one melatonin, thinking this little motherfucker gonna go to sleep. Hell no, the little motherfucker ain't go to sleep. I ended up giving this little the whole goddamn bottle. He ate them all. It was up all motherfucking night.
I'm in all white ones. Picture could get me a Cy Young. We feel like nuns, no giving like Spice One. We feel like bums. Don't change, then I might run. Feel like bunch. Shit sit when the price jump. I got white bumps. These bags kill it price plump. You only die once. I know you a snake with a sliced tongue. I can't trust you, I'ma dust you. Ain't no checking temperature. It's you, then it's you. These laws I'm stuck to. You know how many 12-12s I run through? My get cut, but my girlfriends get cut loose. My get hit like kung fu. I love the streets, but they never told me I love you.
Yeah, I already know. I'm straight from Florida, G. You know, bottom of the motherfucking map. Home of motherfucking Uncle Luke. Home of Trick Daddy. Home of Kodak Black. Nothing but gold teeth, wigs, and motherfucking sticks. You already know. Bottom of the map. FLA. Shaped like a motherfucking Hezbollah. Have me, want it. I ain't got no damn business at church. Cause all I be doing is looking at damn prints in that bitch. I'm talking about, man. You know how up it is? Like, you ever got hard in church before? Like, ain't that some shit? You get hard in church and you in there like, you know you wrong. You know you wrong, but...
From the Sunshine State, the great state of Florida, and what does your Uncle Charlotte always say? The craziest people in America come from the Bronx and all of Florida.
I'm Bae Bubba, cross my black car. It's booby traps and pit bulls cross my backyard. I'm still strapped, boy, these handguns on Vanguard. I like going against the grain cause my head hard. Bae, I used
Welcome back. You guys are back on the bench podcast with Bubba and Pink, home of sports, music, and mayhem. We're available on all, and I do mean all podcast streaming platforms, including here on YouTube. Please like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Let's get right into it, man. The draft is underway, the NBA draft. If you're watching us, thank you for checking in here. And, of course, Cooper Flagg goes number 1 to the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, just a stop that. Mike is giving me feedback here. I mean, it's just it was a secret that was just out already, man. Dallas Mavericks take Cooper Flagg. You know what do you know? The word about Cooper is that Carmelo Anthony came out a couple of days ago and was saying how Cooper Flagg doesn't do anything especially well, like he doesn't have a particular skill, and that may hurt him down the line. But you have a lot of other people saying that he does a little bit of everything well, and that's the thing. So and that's kind of what you want in a basketball player. He's going to come in and be a defensive first minded guy, be a playmaker, and grow into his offensive role. What do you say to that?
Well, I think that's the trajectory that people think. The reality is right now, He does a bit of everything, but when you watched him at Duke. What I was most impressed with is he does a lot of things, not just like he doesn't just do a lot of things. He does a lot of things that impact winning.
Right.
Like he can make 4 or 5 different plays in a game that help your team, but each play is a little different. One's a basket, another's a block, another's an extra effort defensively that creates a bad shot. There's just so many ways that he can impact a game. Now, I think with age and experience, if he progresses into what certainly the Dallas Mavericks hope he's going to be, it's going to be finding an offensive game. And it's not just, you can't look at it and just say, hey, he can shoot, he can dribble, he can attack the basket. What an offensive game is at the NBA level is you have very specific skills, very specific spots that you get to on the floor, and you create havoc for people.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get to those spots, or you're going to have counters to get to your alternative spots, and you're going to play at a level of efficiency that is just not going to be stopped. It can only hope to be contained, or maybe you have a bad night of missing shots. But every high-level player in the league, has an offensive game where they get to certain places and they hit certain types of shots. And he's just not at that place yet. But it doesn't mean he won't get there. To me, the biggest thing that was a little concerning about Flagg was when he measured at like 6'8". I thought he was advertised as 6'10", and it's not unusual for people to measure out shorter than they are. But what that is to me is like there's nothing necessarily physically exceptional about him. It's going to have to be the skill and the effort that's going to do that. You look at a guy like KD, and he's, probably 7 foot instead of 6'10", and he has a high and there's just certain things like freakishly that he can do, or Giannis or whatever. Flagg's, or the guy last year, Wemby. Flagg is not falling into that category of genetic freak. He's falling into a category where he's, good athletically and has tools, but there's nothing that stands out like that makes him just unplayable for most guys. And I think that the refinement of his skill, the development of an offensive game, as I just defined it, are going to be the deciding factors on his level of stardom.
No, 100%. Now, I've seen some Kawhi Leonard NBA Pro comps for Cooper Flagg. And that's interesting because it took Kawhi a few years to develop his offensive game.
Yeah.
And he became exceptional at that. So it can be done. You know what I mean? So we'll see what he grows into. And we'll come back to that because I had a question about number one draft picks in the past few years, and I want to compare Cooper to those guys. But right now, my favorite team is on the clock. We'll also come back to the Spurs and the fit with Dylan Harper. But let's try to catch up here as we go along. The number 3 pick, 76ers on the clock. We have a lot of options. I heard some phenomenal things earlier today that could be done as far as like trading Paul George and moving back. That really gave me pure excitement. But it's just a rumor. And it's 30 seconds to go here before they pick. And it looks like for right now, it looks like they're going to keep the pick. Now, you know how the draft works. I mean, they can pick a player here
and they're actually picking for a guy.
Hours. You know what I mean?
They're picking a guy now that's really already part of a trade potentially. Yeah, that could work out.
It could do that. But so it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what they do here in a few seconds. Now, Ace Bailey wouldn't meet with us. Canceled the meeting. Not only would he not meet or work out with us, he scheduled it and then canceled it. And then decided he wasn't going to meet or work out for anybody, which was extremely weird.
Maybe he had a good threesome going on.
And apparently what everyone is saying that he has a promise from one of the teams that are 6, 7, 8. He really wants to play with the Washington Wizards or
for real?
Yeah, he wants to play with Washington as his number 1 team.
He loves losing. He goes to fucking Rutgers, and then he wants to play for the Wizards.
He wants the ball in his hand. And he wants to be able to just shoot as
and he wants
times.
A lot of L's on his head.
Yeah.
That's insane to me. That is. I didn't hear that. That is ludicrous.
Yeah, that's why he canceled the meeting.
Yeah. That's ludicrous.
They think that him and his camp think that that's his avenue to stardom. And I'm glad because that kind of shows what he is, and also shows why he went to Rutgers. He's to get the bad guy, so he wants to run the numbers up, score 20 points a game on a bad team, and hopefully get him a rookie max extension. So and that's cool, but that's just not what Philly needs. We've had enough of that. We've had enough of guys to fool us and get the bag. So.
Yeah, and he's a guy. He was apparently advertised as 6'10" and is 6'7.5".
Yeah.
And again, I was reading the thing. At 6'10", you're like KD comparisons and that sort of stuff. 6'7.5", you're just another fucking guy.
Literally,
Yeah.
Another guy who takes a ton of bad shots, doesn't care, about winning and all of that stuff. So,
that's really, so. Yeah, if he really wants that badly to play with the Wizards because they'll put the ball in his hands, that makes sense why he would not mess with Philadelphia, with Embiid, with Paul George for that matter.
He doesn't even want Charlotte, and because Charlotte has LaMelo and B Miller, so that's interesting as well. So so VJ Edgecombe is a guy who did meet with us. Tyrese Maxey was at that meeting, and he's a guy who has a lot of athletic ability. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
very athletic, but he scares us to death. He scares 76ers fans to death because he reminds us of the guy that we just drafted a couple of years ago, very high, traded him on draft day, okay, for we drafted the guy with the New York Knicks. Bridges. And we traded him on draft night for a guy who's no longer in the NBA.
Yeah,
he has the same player profile, just an athletic guy who can't dribble or shoot that well just yet, and that's what But there's some pro comps to Oladipo, to even Jimmy Butler for Edgecombe as far as his college profile here. So
I think Edgecombe's a better player. I liked him in the tournament. I thought he's got some real upper tier athleticism, but I think he'd play. I don't think he's just an idiot running around.
And the pick is in, and the 76ers did go with VJ Edgecombe.
Okay.
So with VJ Edgecombe being the pick, I don't think that any trade scenarios are on the ticker here for that. I mean, he's the only guy that we brought in, that interviewed and worked out.
He's the only guy that they brought in at all?
That interviewed and worked out. Now, they may have spoken with, like, Trey and a couple of other guys.
Okay.
But as far as the whole nine, yes, VJ Edgecombe was the only guy. So they really targeted him. And, we'll see. Now, he's a guard. He's really a guard. He's 6'4", and we have Tyrese Maxey, and
you have Jared McCain.
We have Jared McCain, and for what it's worth, we have a guy that we're trying to bring back in free agency that's a guard as well. So
who's that?
Oh man, there's so many guys off the top of my head. I can't remember off the top of my head. But we'll see what VJ can do. Hold on here, because I'm really going crazy here. Free agency. We're trying to sign Quentin Grimes. I don't know why I can think of his name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Quentin Grimes. We're trying to sign him back. He did really well last season. So we'll see, man.
Got into it with Georges Niang.
Yeah, Niang was like,
if you get into it with Georges Niang, you're on the right side of history.
He was like, you're only doing that because nobody's there.
Nobody's playing, which was a good comeback at the time. Now we'll see. Like in the coming years, is he really that guy, or was George Wright?
But the positive thing about VJ, he plays hard, he plays defense. You know what I mean? And when you see guys, we just saw the finals with OKC and the Pacers. I mean, he looks like a guy that can come in early and be a rotational guy that can come in, get you some extra possessions, you know what I mean, and just fly around out there, versus an ace who is just going to take a bunch of tough mid-range shots.
Yeah.
Now,
if he molds himself as just a hard-playing two-way guy with upper-tier athleticism, I think this is a really good pick.
Yeah. Now, Charlotte is on the clock, okay? This is an interesting team because they're young and they haven't had any success with this current, version of their team.
They're young, dumb, and full of cum.
LaMelo gets hurt a lot, but he's there. You know, Brandon Miller got hurt for a long stretch last year, but he showed some promise. And I just don't know what else. You know, where do you go here? Do you go, you know, with the big? It seems like it's too early for Duke center. You know, do you need some shooting? Do you go Trey Johnson from
Texas?
Texas?
They still have Mark Williams?
Yeah, but Mark is another guy who's, you know, he had a bad physical with the Lakers.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he gets injured a ton. You know, you kind of need anything outside of, you know, outside of a point guard. I mean, really. So it'll be interesting to see where they go.
I don't think it's that interesting, and I don't think it matters because
You
I
don't?
think that organization is just so bad that whoever goes there is just it's gonna be a stain on their career.
You don't see any turnaround with Charlotte.
No. I think at the end of the day, Melo's an ass clown, and you're not going to overcome that. He's been in the league long enough. He can play. I mean, he can do some great stuff. But I just think that he's just not a serious guy. He's not about winning. And and as long as he's the front man of your operation, you're not going to go very far. And if I'm a top, you know, if I'm a 4 to 9 player right now, I don't want any part of this. I would have refused their interview. I would have mailed them a brown bag full of shit to just not have to go there.
Most of the time, bad teams are drafting high anyway.
No, I understand, but like again, look at what this team is. Melo is a mess because he's good enough. The ball's going to be in his hands, and it should be in his hands. But he's not a serious person. Yeah. And so he's your lead of the franchise, and he's not a serious. You can't get better with him. You know, and so if I'm going to go there, I'm going to watch Melo dribble around and throw bad passes at his leisure, not my convenience. And we're not going to win a bunch of games, and what am I going to do there?
Yeah.
I literally think it's one of the worst places you could go as a rookie.
And I think the worst fit for them would be Trey Johnson from Texas. He's a shooter. He's a gunner, man. He's going to get him up, and you know what I mean. And that fits Melo's style. But I think they needed it. I think they should have moved up and got a guy like VJ. They need a change in culture. You know what I mean? They need a change in everything.
But I think that's the thing is nobody in this draft. Like, nobody available at 4. And how pathetic. At 4 is a good pick. Nobody available is what they need.
Yeah.
Because they're that far off of the pace.
Yeah, that sucks.
And the problem, like, you can have a culture-changing guy, but, like, he can't be 4 years younger than Melo.
Yeah.
And the guy who's going to have the ball in his hands and change culture, that's not happening.
No.
You know, you have a guy that is not a serious guy heading into the prime years of his basketball life, and he's going to have the ball. You're stuck.
Yeah.
Unless you unstick yourself from him.
Now, while we wait on this pick, and we'll announce it when it does come in. Now, there should be any second though. Now, I'm waiting on it. He's walking up to the podium now, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the Spurs pick since we missed that. What's up, Just Black? I see you there. I want to talk a little bit about the Spurs pick because even though that Dylan Harper it was clearly a 2-player draft is what everyone said. Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper is a point guard, and they just already have so many guards. You know what I mean? They already they have the Rookie of the Year. You know, Castle. You know, they have the guard that came over from Sacramento. Okay, and De'Aaron Fox. You know, I just what do you do with a Dylan Harper when you roll out the ball next fall?
Yeah. You it is tough. I mean, at the end of the day, though, and I think the Spurs have done a great job of this in history. They're drafting people more than players. And I think that's the route that this group is going. Castle's a very solid dude. Wemby seems to be about all the right things. I think De'Aaron Fox is about the right things. And I think they're just stockpiling dudes that have the right mentality over positional fit. And I think that at the end of the day, that, you know, it gives you a chance to kind of bring Harper up a little slower maybe and not need as much from him and let him kind of grow into a role. And I'm not bothered by it. It's not ideal. You'd love for Harper to fit a position they don't have, you know, good talent at. But I'm okay with taking winning dudes, taking dudes that you think are high character guys. And, you know, Harper's dad was an NBA great championship guy. I don't think he's one of those guys that is, you know, steps into this and understands how to operate as an NBA guy. And I think he'll be fine. And I think the Spurs will be better for having these types of people.
Yeah, I'm not sure about it, man.
I can tell. I can feel your trepidation across the table.
Yeah, because if a guy, you know, if a guy can't get on the court, you know, it's going to be hard for him to develop. That's the issue that I think I have there.
I don't see where he's not going to get on the court. I think he'll get on the court. I think they're going to. You know, they wouldn't have made this pick if they didn't have a plan to get him meaningful minutes.
Now Charlotte ended up going with Knuppel, man. That's very interesting. Now Con is a guy who you know, 6'7" forward, who, you know, is really, you know, shooting and passing really are his you know, two main skills there. You know, really good at those things. But you kind of want him in a point forward type of role. And of course, with LaMelo having the ball in his hands all the time, I don't think that's going to happen. But another guy you can run offense through is important. That's good. But moves his feet very slow laterally on a defensive end. He won't be able to guard, you know, anyone in the NBA. But, you know, young players coming in, how much defense are they really playing? What do you think about this pick here for Charlotte? I mean, I know you said anybody who goes there, but Con is a very interesting person for them to pick because, you know, he was a guy slated for later in the lottery.
Yeah, no, I don't like this pick at all. I mean, I don't walk back from what I said. I don't like anybody going to Charlotte right now, but I don't see a lot in Con Knuppel. I know he can shoot. There's a ton of guys that come in the league as shooters, and because they can't do enough of the other stuff, they end up in very limited roles. And, you know, to me, unless you're gonna, you know, kind of go down that JJ Redick path where you just kind of are super fit and kind of get good enough at other stuff that you're not a liability, that you can play meaningful minutes and so forth, you know.
I see a bigger Austin Reeves. And I hate to do the white guy comparison, but that's really what he reminds me of, a bigger Austin Reeves. Because Austin, he has some on-ball juice, and he's done it for a couple of years now to where, you know, it's believable. But very poor defensively, and but because of his ability to his passing vision and being able to shoot the ball, you know, he can go through stretches of minutes on the court and can initiate offense through him. And that's what I see in Con. And he's bigger for what it's worth.
But like you said, like Austin Reeves didn't go 4 in the draft.
No.
And that's why I mean, like, aside from the Charlotte point, I don't like Con Knuppel going 4 if that's our comparison. And I don't strongly disagree with your take.
Yeah.
I think I think this in a good setting, that's what he becomes.
Yeah, in a good setting.
I don't know that he has much potential to be beyond a good Austin Reeves.
Yeah. I don't know if Austin Reeves is Austin Reeves if he's in Charlotte.
Right, and the reality is it gets both ways on that.
Yeah,
and it's like, but this is the guy that's going 4. So I'm not excited, you know, for him, and I'm not excited about him at 4. If he's getting taken near the end of the lottery, I would be more excited, you know, about him as a prospect.
Yeah.
But 4, to me, there's good expectations in 4. You're wanting to pick a player that you could think could be an all-star.
Yeah.
And I don't know that's what this pick is.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. Now, next on the clock here, we have Utah. All right. Now Utah Jazz, that is a team that was on Ace Bailey's list. Okay. No. Yeah. Utah. Utah's next. Ace Bailey was on their list. Was on his list. So
It's okay sharing the floor with the great Lauri Markkanen. Wow.
Yeah. So he feels
Who might actually be 6'10"?
Yeah. I mean, if you're Utah, you have Lauri. That's a guy you just refuse to trade and truly rebuild. So you wanted to keep a hold of him. You even took fines and held him out fully healthy so you can tank and get a guy like Ace Bailey with the number 5 pick. So I Utah to me is in a worse situation than Charlotte. I just don't. You got a guy who came over there, flipped the team, and obtained a shit ton of assets. I mean, they have so many draft picks, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
Ton of cap space, and you have Lauri. So it's the Baron. It's not bare, but it's like it's not appealing at all to me. I don't know.
No, but the other side of the coin for Ace Bailey, if he wants to have the chance to be like a feature guy,
Yeah.
and he has that type of physical talent, it's probably a good option.
Yeah.
Because that team is there for being taken.
It is.
It's not, that's the thing. And if that's your goal, it's probably not a bad situation. Now I don't know how sharp his people are, but if you're looking at this through the lens of having multiple other draft picks and some assets and some flexibility, the reality is this. Let's just say we're wrong and Ace Bailey steps on an NBA floor and he's something, and now there's a little bit of buzz about maybe, building something around him, and you have, assets and tools to do that. Mm-hmm. This isn't the worst situation in the world.
It's not.
But the critical difference between Charlotte and Utah is Melo. Like, you're not stepping in where they already have a guy trying to be the guy.
Yeah.
And so for Bailey, if his agenda is to put himself in a position where he can be a lead guy and put up big numbers and maybe create some excitement around a franchise, that's way easier done in Utah than it would be in Charlotte.
Yeah, Lauri is a classic number 2 guy, on a playoff contending team. So you do need a guy who can come in there and be your number 1 featured offensive player. So, we'll see if that works out for Ace, and he comes in there. I'm not sure why this thing keeps doing that, but there we go. Yeah.
What was that?
I don't know. So who did they?
Is it official? Yeah.
They came away with Ace, right?
Ace Bailey.
Yeah, Ace Bailey, Utah. Yeah. So he should be able to come in there, take a ton of shots, be aggressive over there with Lauri Markkanen and make something happen. I mean, he refused the 76ers to get to an opportunity like this. Now, you're probably the worst team in the Western Conference. The Western Conference is very, very deep. But you're going to have years to develop and with very low expectations, right? So he'll be able to make a ton of mistakes, get in there, and develop. And
probably 3-4 years away from a playoff game. Best case scenario.
Yeah, very, very best case scenario. I mean, very best case scenario. So, but another good thing about that though is if Ace Bailey is a guy, and Lauri is a nice piece. Outside of that, you have a ton of assets to trade and bring someone else in. Yeah. And, you're going to have Ace on this rookie contract, so you have money to spend, you have assets to go and get someone, and then, who knows?
Yeah, definitely interesting. I mean, this really is – I mean, if he basically, conducted him in himself where he basically leveraged this as the decision and the pick, I mean, this is betting on yourself.
Yeah.
This is what this is. You're putting in yourself in a position to be on a team that needs a guy. And really, like, the 5th pick in the draft, this is the first team that needs a guy. If you look at it, the Dallas has AD, they've got Kyrie. I know he's coming off injury, but they've got guys.
Yeah.
Then you go to San Antonio, Wemby's there, Castle's there, all the Aaron Fox is there, and then at 3. Philadelphia has Embiid, Maxey, some people, and then at 4 you had the Melo situation. So this is really like the first team in the draft that it's like it's there for somebody to take it over.
Yeah, it is. It is. I really struggled with Philly because with the 2 timelines thing, and Daryl Morey came on a bunch of podcasts over the summer and talked about that 2 timeline thing. And we really need a guy. I mean, the more you think about it, I mean, it really just is. The experience is over, with Embiid and George. And I really wish they would have traded George, traded back, and then moved off of Embiid in the next summer because that's when it's best to do so. But but they're going to trot this team out again and do it over again, and I mean whatever. But you can't realistically have any faith that Embiid and George are just going to remain healthy, and that's the tough thing about it, man. And it becomes tougher to trade George at 37 than at 36 and then Embiid at whatever. You know what I mean? And so but is Ace Bailey the guy? I don't believe he's the guy anyway. So I was, I'm totally fine with them going with the VJ or even a Trey at that point. And so we'll see how the tables turn here. Now you got Washington on the clock now. It's funny how the teams who blatantly were the worst and blatantly take down the stretch. The Wizards even got rid of their best player for what it's worth, Kuzma, so they can lose more games than they were actually losing, and they end up with the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th picks. You know what I mean? That's just awful. But you got Washington here; they need everything.
But it felt like there was a certain level of justice to those teams getting screwed.
It was.
And I do think with there's a lot of anti-tanking sentiment, in the NBA.
Anyway, yeah.
And it feels like, and if you're one to think that the draft the lottery is maybe fixed, this was a classic example. We have these teams tanking, and we don't like these teams, and we don't respect what they're doing.
Yeah,
let's give them the hose. And it looks like that's what may have happened.
Yeah, looks like that may have happened, and probably deservingly so. Yeah. Now Washington, a team who needs everything. I'm looking at this. ESPN has Trey Johnson as the best available person to pick, and they think that Duke's big man is the best fit. Okay. Now they made a trade.
They traded a Poole for McCollum. Yeah. And
if you're a real team that's trying to turn things around,
Sarr, who's a big.
Yeah.
I don't know how Sarr and Malak would operate together.
Yeah, that's true too.
I mean, in terms of fit, that seems a little odd with Sarr being your guy.
Yeah.
So,
what does ESPN know?
Yeah.
If you're a team that's trying to turn things around, CJ is a seasoned vet, seasoned pro, and he's better than Poole. I found that move to be that's okay. You want to be serious now. It's just the first move, hopefully of many. The problem is you need everything, and there's not a player here that's really going to change fortune. If I'm Trey Johnson, the absolute last team I wanted to go to was the Washington Wizards.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's a guy, like I said, he's a shooter, but the best case scenario for him is to come into the league is the guy who can initiate offense and get him easy shots, for the first couple of years and develop that way. And, even for what it's worth, even a team like Charlotte or something would have been a better fit for him. But we'll see what they end up going with here as it's coming in shortly here. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that it's not a team that any guy in this draft is going to turn around. The McCollum trade does point to taking things a little bit more maturely, a bit more seriously, which is always a good thing. And he's a well-respected guy, and I think that I actually like this player right here.
Is that who they went with?
Jeremiah Fear. I don't know. I think they're talking about
They're just talking about him.
But he's a guard. He can play make. He can score. I think you're probably better served with him.
I think so.
Than anybody else.
Yeah. I think so. You definitely need a point guard in there.
He was really tough. They played Connecticut in the tournament, and he was really tough in that game. Has to me a pro game. I think. And I think he'll be very good.
No, he's nice. Now, if I'm not mistaken, is he a little on the smaller side? I think he's 6 foot, 6'1". I could be wrong on that.
I thought he was a little taller, but not girthy. Kind of light.
Yeah.
But I thought he was like a 6'2", 6'3" guy. But
No, he is. Yeah. Yeah. He measures 6'3", so 6'4" with shoes. So yeah. That's good. That's good.
I actually haven't seen his face up on the board. I think that would be the best possible pick for Washington.
Yeah. Oklahoma. Yeah. Let's let me see. What did they end up going with here? Where am I? Okay. Washington selection is in, and they ended up going with Trey Johnson.
Trey Johnson.
Yeah, ended up going with Trey. Hey, I mean the best shooter in the draft. CJ and Trey, you got a nice shooting backcourt there. You're probably gonna go out and get you a point guard and probably bring Trey off the bench, depending on CJ McCollum's health. Lately he's been pretty banged up, so we'll see.
Spending more time on the vineyard than the court.
Yeah, but let's move past Washington, man. That's a.
I'm not excited by the pick at all. I'm not a Trey Johnson guy.
You're not?
No.
I like Trey.
Yeah.
In a situation where he can just do what he do.
Yeah, but I just don't like those guys.
He broke the scoring record. He broke KD's scoring record.
How?
In Texas, huh?
KD averaged less than 20 points at Texas.
I don't think it was a points per game average, but he broke a KD scoring record.
I mean, seriously, what are we talking about?
Yeah. Okay, so what you have here next is you have the New Orleans Pelicans on the clock here. Okay.
We just acquired Jordan Poole.
Which for what reason? I have no idea.
Zion. What else do those guys have?
They have Herb Jones.
Yeah.
He's a good player. I like Herb. Sort of like Embiid. I mean, sort of like Philly. Everything kind of relies on Zion, man.
It's not a reliable option.
Yeah, I mean, if Zion is on the court and available, everybody else can kind of slot into place. I hate the Poole Zion connection there.
Yeah.
If you're trying to turn things around, I just don't know why you go Poole. I just don't know.
Yeah, he's another guy. To me, has no value. I wouldn't want him within a 10-foot pole of my team.
Yeah, just not
all.
at all. Bad locker room guy. Bad everything guy. But as far as this pick here, I think let me see who they have at their big. They might be a team that goes with Duke's big here. You still got DeJounte Murray over there. Okay. And like Trey Murphy. Trey Murphy is a really solid small forward. I like him. He can play on a playoff contending team. Okay. We talked about Herb and Zion.
You got Grand Theft Alvarado, right?
Yeah. Alvarado is a nice reserve guard. So yeah, I mean, really, the glaring need is a big. Well, you have Yves Misi, Carlo Matavich, and the power forwards in Zion and Herb. So I mean, that's the glaring weakness.
Oh, yeah. You got to go with Mallock.
I think so.
Yeah.
And if he can, he's shown the propensity to every once in a blue moon hit it open. Mid range to 3-point shot.
Yeah.
And even in the workouts, they said that he shot the ball, fairly well. You're shooting against air. There's nobody guarding you.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's shown propensity to hit that. And if you could do that with Zion, if you can get the next, decent shooting big who can also rim run and protect the rim, just develop him and you're on to something there.
Yeah. No, because they do, going through the roster, they do have some passable options among the smaller players. You've got Zion, probably need to do that. The other guy might be Derek Queen to look at.
Okay.
He's not a big,
right,
but he's kind of skilled, and maybe he's a fit. I'm not sure.
Especially because the thing about Duke Center, it's going to take him a while to develop, and I mean a few years. It just is. If internally, if you have a strong inkling that Zion is not going to work out with Zion, take Queen.
Yeah.
Take Queen. See how this year goes, and then you're ready to move off of Zion, and then Queen can slot right into there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's a good plan.
Yeah.
So I think he's the better player too. I think Queen is a better player.
Yeah.
Will be a better pro player overall than Duke Center. I can't say his name, so I'm just going to keep saying Duke Center. You know who I'm talking about.
I think it's Malawak. It's the way
Malawak, something like that.
Yeah.
K-Man is his first name.
Yeah.
I call him the K-Man, like Kramer of Seinfeld. Which is odd because he had that racist joke, but I don't care, man. Kramer's a legend.
You'll overlook it for a legend.
I overlook it.
Way to go, Bubba.
Still can come to the barbecue, Kramer.
Oh, not the barbecue.
Let's see here. They actually have. I don't know what ESPN is doing. They have Jeremiah Fears as the best fit. I mean, but again, he's a really good player. But they have some guards already, man.
If you wanted to take Fears, like, why would you trade for Poole?
Why would you
and
trade
I know
for
you've already
Poole?
got McCollum, but McCollum could, is just a veteran guy. He's a calm guy.
No. I'm talking about for the Pelicans because McCollum is on Washington.
No. I'm saying you wouldn't have traded for Poole if you're looking hard at a Jeremiah Fears.
I see what you're saying.
But if you just had McCollum and you weren't making that trade to get a young guy that he could mentor and whatever, I think that would be the better thing. I mean, Poole's not mentoring anybody.
No.
Especially on the dating scene.
Oh, man. The pick is in. Who are they going to take here? They were 21-61 last year, 14th in the Western Conference. They probably do somewhat of the same next year.
They were 21 and
61.
God, they were worse than I thought.
14th in the Western Conference.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here.
2 Blue Devils in the top 4, potentially 3 in the top 7.
Yeah. No overseas players just yet.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a great year for overseas guys.
Yeah, they have a France forward that they
the French
keep fancy in here.
Fancy.
Noah. His name is Noah.
Yeah.
Selection mode. Is that Jeremiah Fears? Did they go with Jeremiah?
Did it?
Yeah, it looks like they went with Jeremiah there.
Okay.
Why don't you update, man? Yeah, went with Jeremiah Fears.
Okay.
So you're looking at a backcourt of Jeremiah and DeJounte. I still like that. I don't hate it.
And then bring Poole as the third guard.
Yeah, back to his Golden State role. Bring him off the
Yeah.
bench and just let him fire up shots off the bench mob. I don't mind that. Jeremiah's the better player.
If you look at it as we're
Duke
just taking
Center.
the best player,
Yeah, best
and,
player
and if you feel that Fears is that, I don't disagree with it right now. I like to pick more in that regard.
Yeah. Your backcourt is Jeremiah, like you said, 6'3", 6'4". DeJounte, a defensive-minded point guard. I like that.
Yeah.
That'll be a nice backcourt. All right. Now, next year, Brooklyn Nets on the clock. Another team who was caught tanking down the stretch last year. A team who went 26-56, 12th in the East. Kind of just benched everybody last year. Not that they have a ton of folks.
Hey, who the hell do they have to bench?
But they benched him.
I mean,
And
that's like shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic.
This is for what it's worth, D'Angelo Russell over there. You have Cam Thomas.
A consummate loser.
Yeah.
Cam Thomas is positioning himself to be either a longtime broadcasting standard or a coach.
Why do you say that?
He talks about the game with like great nuance.
Yeah.
And like sort of also great compassion. And I think he's going to be in one of those two roles for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Impressive guy. Like, he's one of the, he's a good player, a good NBA player. He's not, I don't think he's anybody's favorite player other than his mom's. But
he can score the ball, though.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. He's a good NBA player. But I do think just as a person, there's just something different there. He's done a couple podcasts. And when he starts talking basketball, it's so detailed. He was talking a little bit about the finals, and just the way he talks about it, it's detailed. It's specific. And he knows he can't talk about a player without talking about he's going to want to get to the left here off of one dribble and do this. Like, it's very specific.
No, I like Cam. Now, is he on a playoff contending team a starting shooting guard? Time will tell.
No, as a player, I think if he's ever going to be in a high winning situation, ideally it'll be a bench dude.
I think so.
He has the mentality. Like, he's one of those guys, and what I'm talking about as a person, he's one of those guys that might be like your 7th guy, and he would sit there with like a rookie who's the 10th guy and probably spend extra time on the court with him talking about stuff that might make him better.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys that'll probably be able to go to your best guy and tell him something that maybe other guys can't tell him.
Now, they have 2 high-level guys that I like, decent-level guys. Cam Johnson is interesting. He's a small forward, probably about 6'8", 6'9". He can really shoot the ball. He's a go-to scoring option in the NBA. I like Cam. Cam is a nice piece. And then you have Nick Claxton, who's he's a notable big. He can get things done down there. You could be fine with him. All right. Now, so outside of that, I mean, they can use an upgrade anywhere else. This is a team, though, with a ton of assets and cap space. I was looking at them to move up because you're not going to do anything in free agency and all of that. So I was looking at them to move up here because now you're a team, like I said, so you have a decent small forward, you have a good small forward, and you have a decent big. And, I mean, there's no one else on this team that's going to, you're not going to put Duke center there. That clashes with Nick. So, like, where do you go? Do you take a flyer on the France forward and just
when in doubt, go with the French guy.
Because I don't know who else. I mean, you got guys like Carter Bryant from Arizona. There's been some good things said about him. And, I don't know. They should have traded up.
I should have if they could have, yeah.
Yeah, they could have. You got to spend something to get some.
Yeah, but they don't. I'm like, but you literally have 2 players worth retaining. Like, what are you going to give besides picks to move up?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what you do.
That might not have been that appealing.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it depends.
Because once you got out of, like, the top 3, were like, top 2 were very clear.
Yeah.
I don't think Philly was really looking to trade.
I think we were.
Really?
Yeah, I think they really were. But, I mean, Daryl's a very aggressive guy, so he's probably asking for probably too much.
Right.
To be honest. But yeah. But whatever. I mean, we'll see it. After this pick, what we're going to do is we're going to deviate to a couple of other topics. And then get back and just recap what has been done in the draft. Okay. But I do want to see what Brooklyn is going to do here because this I don't know, it's interesting because you have and another thing is with the Eastern Conference, right? A lot of people are saying it's just so wide open. And so it's better to be aggressive now to put together a team that can potentially go to the playoffs and get something done. So you're seeing these teams, do that. But I guess if you're a team like Brooklyn, you're so far away, it's probably just best to keep building and keep drafting.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Keep hold of your assets.
And we talk about the East being wide open. I mean, like, again, the Celtics, who we thought was defending champions and everything, they suffered a Tatum injury. Now they're making crazy trades to get guys out of there. The Pacers, who win the East, have the Halliburton injury in Game 7, so they're going to be kind of trying to figure things out with without him. The Knicks seem to be intact, other than the coach. Cleveland seems to be intact. The Magic made a pre-draft move that should improve them. But there's not that favor of like a perfect type of team like we felt the Celtics were coming out of last year that has all the pieces and the proper level of experience and everything to do everything. So in that sense, it feels like it's there for the taking.
Yeah, it does. Now back to the what you just mentioned there with Boston. I'm gonna tell you something, man. I love what Boston is doing, though. Boston, their front office are just fucking elite level movements. Because you look at Drew now. Drew is a Philly guy. We call him J. Rue over there. You know what I mean? Homegrown and with Philly. And, it's just over. We looked at, J. Rue coming down the stretch last season in the playoffs. He's just not the same guy. Okay, and he has 3 years left of balloon payments coming up, and it was going to be. I thought it was going to be tough to get off of J. Rue. Okay, but then you find a sucker in Portland. What on God's green earth is Portland doing to not only trade for J. Rue, who obviously just he doesn't have it anymore. We saw he couldn't guard anybody in the playoffs. You know what I mean? He's not hurt. He's just an older guy with a lot of miles on him. And you trade for him, but not only do you trade for him, you give up picks and a younger player. In Anthony Simons, who was your best player. You give up your best player and stuff to get an older J. Rue with 3 years left on his deal. That's nuts. And how Boston swindled them to get that is fucking beyond me. And then you have a Porzingis who is always hurt. Always, if he's not injured, he's sick, can't play. You know what I mean? And you flip him and the rest of his contract, big ass massive contract, and you flip him, for nothing but cap relief. You know what I mean? And just what they're doing there is masterful. Okay.
Well, again, they won a championship a year ago. They fully expected to be in the title contending mix this year. It didn't happen. You had the Tatum injury. And with the Tatum injury, you kind of know, you have two options, really. Do we just kind of hold the fort with the rest of our roster and, be good enough to, contend in a vague way and then hope to load up with Tatum returning the following season? Or do we pivot now and kind of build something completely new and fresh during this year that we can regard as kind of a developmental throwaway year? And when Tatum returns, now we're in a whole different thing, a whole different regenerated team. And so you got rid of kind of your two oldest and most unreliable guys. And there's time. I mean, they're taking calls on Brown and Derek White.
Brown, White, Horford.
Yeah.
And they're taking calls on them, and it's just whatever. It depends on the package that is available.
Yeah.
And I just love what they're doing here, man. Do you know anything about the guy that Brooklyn just took?
He's a foreign guy. I think the first foreign guy of the draft.
Okay.
But yeah, he played at BYU. I don't care.
Yeah, we'll see how that new guy's going to do at BYU
anti-Mormon,
next year.
anti-religion. So.
Well, once again, you're still on the bench podcast with Bubba and Pink, home of sports, music, and mayhem. We're available on all, and I do mean all podcast streaming platforms, including on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Okay, now let's go to a couple of other quick topics, and we'll get back to the draft here, as there's going to be a lull in notable players. Okay. Let's go here, completely off topic and sports wise. Let's go to this Diddy thing. And so prosecutors have dropped the attempted kidnapping, arson theories, and certain sex trafficking charges against Diddy. The judge is trying to get a decision made by Friday, okay, and by the latest early next week. So they're trying to get this thing over and done with. What does this mean in your estimation that they've dropped those particular charges after all of the witnesses and things of that nature have taken a stand and things like that?
Yeah, I wouldn't be overly optimistic if I'm Diddy about this. And I think that, when you present a case, particularly a RICO case, you need to string together multiple crimes. And I think they cast a very wide net. And as the evidence evolved, I don't know to what extent they were surprised or they recognized this could go this way. I think the evidence didn't necessarily support some of the charges you've got there. And so when you go to a jury or when you turn a case over to a jury, you want them to have the simplest decision to make. And by streamlining your charges, you give greater focus on the ones that you think you really did a good job of proving. And that's what they're going to focus on. They're going to say, you heard this, you heard this, you heard this. This constitutes the crime of this. And they're going to lock into that jury and give them as simple a thing to decide as possible in their favor. And I think what they're doing is they're taking away some of these things, the kidnapping, the arson, that, again, if the jury goes back in that room, they've got to deliberate and reach a conclusion on those charges. And if the evidence wasn't particularly strong, the testimony wasn't particularly strong, they could spend hours hemming and hawing over whether they could establish arson or not. And meanwhile, they're kind of distracted on all that. And, maybe they don't get around to consider what you feel your strongest charges are. And so I think it's a completely tactical move, but I don't necessarily believe that it's a sign of weakness from the prosecution's case. I think it's really an act of kind of focusing that, okay, this is what you can't deny.
That's a good angle because, what a lot of people believe, and when I first saw that, I totally believed this indicates that he's going to get off. When I first read that, up until what you just said, because that totally makes sense. The streamline and make it easier, or not easier, but make it less things to worry about.
Even I do civil law, and so in some cases, in a civil case, you're like, okay, is person A negligent? Is my client injured? And what is it a permanent injury? What is the value of that? Now, sometimes if I'm the defense of that, I'll go ahead and admit the negligence. If I rear-ended somebody, if I ran a red light and it's pretty clear, I'm not going to waste any energy arguing about that. I'm going to stand in front of the jury. Hey, I apologize. My client ran through a red light that hit Mr. Smith, and we can't change that. And we're not here today to decide that because we've admitted it. What we're here to do is tell you that we don't agree that Mr. Smith's damages are as bad as they say they are. And here's why. And we go through detailed things that are good for us. Well, he already complained of back pain 2 years earlier, and this and that, and the other thing. And, that's what you do. And I think what they've done at this stage of it is arson's going to be a reach, kidnapping's going to be a reach. And I don't want the jury to waste any time over that.
Yeah.
And we're going to give you the charges that we feel are absolutely proven. There's, as little controversial testimony. And, bear in mind, Diddy didn't testify. I don't know if they even called any witnesses. I heard they might not call any.
Yeah. They probably not
and so, they've shown us nothing. They've rebutted nothing. That's their case did nothing. They sat down.
Yeah.
And they can't change that now. And here's what the evidence proved. This charge, this charge.
What they did was they rebutted the of course the recants of the other witnesses.
Yeah, you cross-examine the other witnesses, but there's no way that the prosecutors aren't going to argue that when it was their time to speak,
when in the closing arguments or whatever.
When it was their time to speak, did you hear Mr. Combs defend himself? Did you hear anybody speak up on his behalf?
Yeah.
And again, it goes hand in hand. Nobody spoke that. I don't want to waste your time any further, so I'm throwing these charges out, and I just want you to focus on these.
Yeah.
And here's what we heard about these charges.
No, I like that.
And that's that's how you kind of try to bring the thing home.
No, for sure.
But
okay.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, if he does whatever, get off. It's going to be really interesting to see how he integrates back into celebrity or hip hop or whatever.
Yeah.
Because things are so the space is so weird. It'll be so weird if he comes back. And now everything is so different with the podcast space and all of that. I wanted to will one of those guys try to get him on there, Fat Joe and them, or
people will want to hear from him.
You know what I mean? Because we haven't heard anything from him.
Yeah, but if you're him and you get off, you've got to be very particular about who you're going to speak to.
Do you kind of want to disappear, or do you kind of want to get back in?
That's a tough decision. And it could go either way. I was going to say, at the end of the day, assuming you still have a good amount of money, if you're found not guilty on these charges, like, yeah, do you just take your money and live abroad and just have a quiet, peaceful life, do what you want to do? Or do you basically kind of like, y'all couldn't get me, I'm back, and like, let's go.
I gotta see that route from Diddy. I don't know.
That route does feel more like who, his personality.
But maybe this experience kind of changes him. And,
but then again, you still have that, like, how is he going to be received?
Yeah.
I mean, you've heard a lot of things that people aren't comfortable with. Will he be kind of like re-embraced by, his social circle of people, or will he kind of be shunned a little bit? Now, there's always, and there's always going to be a little bit of both, but like, what's the tipping point? If he gets off, there's going to be people that'll be happy he got off. Mm-hmm. They tried to jack up my man and they couldn't do it, blah, blah, blah. There's going to be people who go like, yeah, this guy's still a piece of shit based on what I heard, and maybe he got off on a technicality. And so it's going to be very divided. But it's like that weird tipping point, almost like the idiot at the White House, where it's just like if a certain level of momentum goes and just people don't care. Like, they feel happy he's exonerated and they don't give a shit and they wipe away everything else.
I think the don't care thing is what will end up as a society on Diddy. Like the R. Kelly thing.
Well, there's two don't cares. There's the don't care, and then we kind of just re-embrace him as a high-level celebrity, or is that I don't care, like I don't care at all whether he does anything, whether he doesn't do anything, if he's living in Tahiti, if he's trying to restart his brands. I don't care. I'm not concerned with him.
Because my point of bringing that up was, like, with R. Kelly, I think the masses or a large enough population was like so disgusted, by the final outcomes of the trial and things that even though there were whispers and an actual video that you could have seen years before or prior, but for whatever, that Netflix documentary and the findings in the trial.
You got that tabbed in your favorites, don't you?
Huh?
You got that tabbed in your favorites, don't you?
What you mean?
The
video. That's sick. But no, like, yeah, so people, like, the masses were like, yeah, this guy, whatever. But I don't feel that for Diddy. Like, I the abuse thing is real, but I mean, I think most normal people understand that that's not what he's on trial for anyway. So I don't know. I don't think the disgust feeling would be there for the masses.
I do think, like, in his favor, if he gets off on these charges, as bad as some of the testimony was, I really feel, and I'm kind of speaking for myself, I felt that the trial was going to be way more sensational than it was.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was going to describe, like, just drugging people and orgies and just, like, again, the bisexual stuff and all, like, just this crazy stuff. And I don't think it ever reached that level.
No.
And so there is a pathway, I think, psychologically, where if he is found not guilty, it's just going to be looked at as this stupid overreach. You got us hyped up for nothing, and you couldn't get these charges to stick. You just wasted our time and our attention. And that, like, he'll benefit from that, from the people that feel that way.
Yeah.
I think he would get, like, kind of like a bump and just positive thoughts, And then the other thing is, too, is, like, what does a conviction look like? And again, in the context, they have dropped some charges. The trial wasn't as sensational as I thought, or I think maybe some other people thought it might be. And if he gets convicted on, let's say he gets convicted on, 50% of the charges, and then you've got your, mandatory minimum sentencing and whatever that's going to come into play, it may feel like just not that satisfying to have convicted him.
Yeah, true that.
It's very weird. He definitely did some bad stuff. He definitely did some weird stuff. But again, I don't think it ever got to the level of, like you said, R. Kelly with the younger girls like that. And because that's another thing that was kind of teased in some of this.
Yeah.
Is that, underage people and, all this stuff. And, like, we just didn't hear that.
No. We
heard a guy that likes to go to hotel rooms and watch his girl get banged.
Yeah.
And then is kind of a jealous guy and overreacts when she doesn't do what he wants.
Yeah.
That probably disguises about 80% of dudes on the planet right now.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, snap. So we have a we have an update here that we can get to. You got Derek saying, what is this show? This show is everything, man. We're talking about the NBA draft, but also any trending stories in the world of sports, music, and entertainment, man. On the Bench Podcast, tap in. But anyway, so the Charlotte Hornets are trading Mark Williams to the Phoenix Suns for the number 29 pick tonight and the 2029 first-round pick. So, yeah,
Hopefully he passes his physical now.
the Hornets were always, had Mark on the chopping block there, which is interesting. I mean, you got a young, bright center, and you can't wait to get rid of him. That's not a good sign.
Yeah,
but you're trading them to Phoenix. That's interesting. I mean, the 29 pick tonight, you don't think you're going to get much from that in the near future.
Yeah. Phoenix needed some size. They got rid of KD. They bring in Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green. You've got Booker. You got Beal. Probably somebody in that guard rotation has to move on.
Yeah, Phoenix is progressing pretty well
through a rebuild. Yeah.
Yeah. They're progressing pretty well through a rebuild. For Charlotte, I don't know about this.
What they get out of the trade.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to be so beneficial for them. And again, it's another Eastern Conference team that's getting swindled. That's just
swindle them all.
If you wonder why, the Eastern Conference is such a lesser conference year after year after year, and it's just little moves like this that every year. I mean, they're just getting swindled by these teams. And so yeah, I mean, even and now the Lakers are the one that pulled out, but the Lakers package was better for Mark Williams than getting Dalton Connect.
At the end of the day, I don't think the Lakers should have pulled out of that trade,
especially for the prospect of last season.
Yeah,
no,
sure.
Not if Rudy Gobert is going Wilt Chamberlain on you. No, I'm sure Mark would have been able to hold up with his half of an ACL there, or whatever his problem is.
Did Phoenix just draft him too?
Yeah,
that's weird.
Hold on. Is that they got the Phoenix thing next to him?
Unless this is a move.
Yeah, that's what it says there, right?
So they just traded for Williams and they're adding Malawak.
That's interesting, but they did need like an influx of size.
Yeah, but
because they had a team
those
full
two
of
guys play together at all, though.
I mean, Malawak is going to take a while, though. Like I said, he's a project. He's not a guy who's going to come in day one and you want to trot out in the starting lineup. I mean, so you know what I mean. So that can work. That can work for sure. And then especially if he develops into some sort of shot. I mean, God forbid he gets to like an Al Horford type.
Yeah.
And then you can play them both together like OKC does their bigs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You need some size to go up with those guys. But Houston drafted him at 10. And it looks like there was a trade. Yeah. I mean, so it was Phoenix's pick.
Was that part of the KD trade with Houston?
It says via Brooklyn.
Via Brooklyn.
From Phoenix via Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's interesting.
Or maybe he's going to be moved again, Malawak.
That could be the case as well.
Yeah.
That could be the case as well. So that's interesting. Yeah, that's definitely interesting there. All right. Now, all right, moving along here. We'll get back when there's another big thing that happens there in the draft. There's a couple of NBA things there I wanted to take note of. Did you see this? James Harden accused of negligence, and he's being sued a bunch of money in an alleged rape lawsuit involving his nephew. Okay, accuser seeks over $100,000.
So what are the facts here?
So the facts is that James Harden had a big party. A big party here. Of course, his nephew was there, and we have Jaymees. She's bringing us some food. I didn't know she was actually going to make it or not, so I didn't mention it to you. But so he has this. The thing about James, and I respect from James. Right, James is a guy. He's a notorious strip club guy.
Yeah.
He's always with a famous rapper, Lil Baby, or whoever else. And he's a part of that life. He's in that lifestyle, the party lifestyle, a lot of women, this and that. But you don't hear any like bad stories.
Yeah. No, I mean, our guy Brock Blanchard, he went to one of James Harden's New Year's party with Austin, and he said, "Pink, you would have been in heaven."
I know James got it, man. James, he gonna bring the ladies out, man.
And Brock knows a thing or two about me.
and I'm sure his parties are top notch, man. He got the strippers there. It's gonna be wonderful.
Yeah.
But in all of the years he's been in the NBA, there's never been any like stripper that's come out of the blue and like, oh, James did this or that. And then you got this young nephew here from James Harden who's just who wants to get invited to the party. Gets invited to the party. And he's gonna, allegedly, what's going on, Jamie? Allegedly, he's gonna rape or sexually assault somebody. Now, here goes my thing here.
Well, what? So is the allegation that basically James hosted this party and the nephew actually did something to a girl?
Yes.
Okay, and they're basically saying that as the host of the party, he should have done A, B, or C that would have made it a safer environment.
There you go.
Okay,
and that's why he's being sued. Plus, he's the guy with the money. The nephew doesn't have any.
Well, yeah. I mean,
the money.
I wonder, I wonder what the case law is to make that connection.
Yeah. Now, my thing is this.
Wait, one other question, if you know. Are the nephew or the alleged victim underage in any way?
The story didn't indicate that.
Okay, because
I'm sure
the easiest way to get him would be that, like, you threw this party, there was alcohol, there was this, there was that, and there was minors there.
Yeah.
And surprise, one of the minors got in a compromised position.
Yeah, no, that would have been like definitely in the story.
Yeah, and that would be to me his biggest vulnerability as the host of the party.
Yeah,
I am curious though, like what evidence, what do they have going to him other than he's the deep pocket?
My focus is not even on the James Harden and the lawsuit and is he, whatever, is he in the wrong and the right? My whole focus is on the nephew, because you can't you're getting blessed and getting invited to these parties.
That's right.
Okay, and then you go out and do something stupid like this allegedly. Like, number one, no more parties for you guys. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm James Harden, I'm like, okay, you know what? Whatever. If there's a fine, I'll pay the fine. We're going to apologize and this and that. But you're done, man.
Yeah.
You're just done.
Yeah.
You're cut off. And if I get in some real trouble, your mom gonna be cut off too. But for right now, it's just you. That's crazy, man.
It is. But like, again, you look at it like, all right, you just said James Harden's done a great job of navigating a lifestyle in and around the strip club without getting in any real trouble. Like, what is he like? He doesn't know this nephew's like a high risk guy.
No, you're not gonna know.
How would you not know?
Because I don't know, and I'm not in the NBA on the road, whatever, 9 months out of the year. Like, you don't really know your people like that. You don't. I don't really know. Like, I know. You really don't know your people like that until you get in a situation. People surprise you all the time. My family members surprise me all the time.
Really?
Oh, yeah, man.
I don't know. I'm very seldom surprised by people.
I'm not. It's surprising because you want to look. You want to, especially with like younger people, like your nephews, nieces, younger cousins. Like, you want to think the best of them anyhow, and you remember them as kids growing up.
I think that's the fundamental difference. Is I go through life looking at people like the opposite.
No,
I do.
But what about what about people that
you
knew like since they were younger, like kids, like even if whatever your kids' friends growing up, if you knew them,
I was extremely judgmental of all of them. I felt like again, depending on the person, I was like, I think that guy's kind of an idiot, or I like okay, that guy's clearly out of control. No, when my kids were growing up, that was one of the biggest things I looked at is who are they associating with.
And I don't mean like as they're growing up. I just mean if you know like whatever, like you said, your kids' friends, or you have younger cousins, nephews, nieces, and you knew them when they were young,
right? And
then now they're adults. I'm saying that I think one of the natural things in people are to look back and say, oh, man, I knew that person when they were a kid. They're good. Like, I know.
But when I'm telling you, I don't do that.
Okay.
My point is I look at life and people the opposite.
Gotcha.
I look at it and it's like I don't have a problem judging a 3-year-old. and saying I think this person's probably gonna be an asshole. That's just how I look at life.
Gotcha.
And so I'm not that surprised. There are people too. Like I'll see somebody like at a certain age, whatever, and I'm like, oh, they look like they got a little something going on. But if they don't, that's just how I look at people.
Yeah.
And so I'm very seldom surprised because I don't. I guess what I say is I don't assume the good in people.
Yeah.
If you show me and kind of almost blow me away with how good you appear to be, I buy into that. But it's a high standard.
No, I understand. I understand. But nephew, you're cut off. All right, it's over.
Oh, for sure. There's no coming back from this. You've jeopardized the bag.
You jeopardized the bag, man.
Yeah.
You're the shame of the family now. You're the talk of a family reunion now.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, no, another thing is one of the things that I'll really get pissed about is if you cost me money.
Yeah.
I remember one time Bryson, and he was probably 5 or less, threw the cordless telephone in the toilet and broke it. I almost had to be restrained. I was like, I have to go buy a phone because you're an idiot. This is just not adding up. I'm going to tax your inheritance.
Speaking of idiots here, all right, just really quick here. Look at my guy here, man. Look at our guy.
Who's this?
Ben Simmons with another annual summer shootout video here, and it's reached a level. It's reached a level of mental. There's something wrong with him, deeply. He should be in a mental institution.
We were there when he pulled up on avoided the layup against the Hawks.
No.
I was there.
Yeah. No, but I'm not talking about I mean, he needs to be locked up with the guys that guys that have something really wrong with them. The guys that
in a rubber room with a football helmet on.
Yes, can either go life in prison or they can go to the mental institution. That's what he needs to be facing.
What's that big mental institution in New York they would send people to back in the day?
Do you know, Jaymees, being from New York? The state something, I don't know.
I thought there was like a known loony bin in New York that
I think of Rikers, but
no, that's the prison.
I thought there was like a mental institution.
I'm sure there is, and very famous. I'm sure there is in New York.
Yeah. But
he belongs there because this is deeply rooted, man. A guy who he's releasing these videos every single summer, and he's not going to take one of these shots in 82 fucking games. This is fucking nuts. It's nuts. It's beyond nuts. And you're coming off your worst year that you've ever had in your entire life, and you're smack dab in the middle of your prime, and here you go, fucking releasing this video.
Yeah,
this is.
But we got to be we're past the point of him ever being able to redeem himself. I just don't think it's even possible.
Yeah, but this is not the pathway to doing so.
No, I know that, but I'm I don't think there is a pathway for him to redeem himself, even in having a Sean Livingston back end of the career where hey, we, due to injury, but we know your career didn't work out like anybody had hoped, but you kind of reach this point and you kind of work yourself up into this really elite bench guy and good guy. I don't even think he's got that in him.
I don't, man.
I just
it was multiple reports. Ty Lue was just telling him, hey, I'm going to put you out there, but you got to take some shots. Yeah. And he wouldn't take the fucking shots. And you're on your contract year, he's a free agent now. In your contract year, you wouldn't do what a championship coach asks you to do to get minutes. He just asks you to shoot the ball. That's all he's asking you to do. Be aggressive.
Does he get anything other than? First of all, does he get offers? And is it anything above minimum?
Yeah, that's going to be the thing. Now, it's going to be well after the draft and free agency.
Yeah.
He's going to be one of those guys in that last bunch to see if he fills out a roster.
Or is there still one fool left in the league who wants to pay him above the minimum? I'm
so interested in that. I'm more interested to see if Ben Simmons gets another offer than I am to meet my next wife. I'm fully invested in this because I these guys, these front offices in the NBA, I'm just convinced that I should be there. I mean, you know what I mean? If you want to give up.
Resume's a little light, but I should be there.
They're going to do stuff like this, man.
Hey,
God
you're in staffing. Why don't you just staff yourself on the NBA GM spot?
Let's see here. I have two really, really quick ones. I don't even have anything to add to this. I just think this is fucking interesting. One of the New Orleans guys is still free. They're still free, man. He escaped on May 16th and hasn't been seen or heard from since. Now, maybe he's at the bottom of a river, but maybe he's somewhere in Mexico just having a fucking, a daiquiri.
Well, the way to go is to get the hell out of town.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you could go to Mexico, go to Costa Rica, go to any.
The
Like,
light-skinned one was caught?
Huh?
The light-skinned
I think it's still two free.
Oh, okay.
The light-skinned one was the one that was doing the videos.
Yeah, but he's still out there.
Yeah. That's the other one they haven't heard from at all. But the other guy was like doing like these Instagram videos.
they still haven't caught him
No.
after the videos?
Okay. There's two guys left.
Yeah, that's wild. But no, I mean, the best way to do it is you just leave the area, you leave contact with anybody you know, and move on.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens though. Like, there's lots of stories of people that like, have escaped and like live for 20 or 30 years in some random place, doing something. But it's all about discipline.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. And before we get back to the NBA draft, I thought this was interesting too, man. Sad but interesting. 29-year-old man fatally shot his uncle after discovering he had eaten his honey bun from the refrigerator. That's another nuts. So
Yeah.
him and Ben Simmons belong in the same place.
Honey buns are pretty good though.
Back in high school, man. I don't think I've had one since high school, but high school, middle school, those were the things.
I started buying them 4 weeks ago. I have one for breakfast every day. Like, for real. They have,
Honey
like,
bun
packages in
or
the Publix.
I used to like those cinnamon. They call them Big Texas. But it's basically like a. You ever had that?
Cinnamon roll.
Yeah, like a big cinnamon roll.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm more of a fan of those than the honey buns. But honey buns, if they're like either warmed up in the microwave or freezer cold, it's the only two ways.
But I also, like, when you look at a story like that, it's never that simple.
It's got to be something else.
There has to be like some ongoing thing.
Maybe he always is eating.
He always eating his food, or like whatever. Maybe they're fucking the same bitch, and it finally came to light. Like, it's just it's never as simple as killing a guy over a honey bun.
It can't be.
Nah, I want more. What's going on here with these guys? Maybe they're incestuous gay lovers.
That's an uncle and a nephew, man.
That's what makes it incestuous.
I didn't catch that part.
That's why I did it.
I mean, when you say gay sex, all I hear is the gay sex part. I don't know.
Your gaydar starts going off. Bing, 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 bing.
Not the incest part.
Gay. You don't have incestar. Got a lot to catch up on, Bubba.
Let's see what we have going on in draft. I do have a story here to tell as well, but let's catch up. Let's catch up here in the draft. See what's been going on here, man. So right now you have the Atlanta Hawks on the clock. So you have of course the Duke center went to Portland via trade from the Rockets. Cedric Coward went to Portland.
Or Phoenix?
I'm sorry, to Phoenix. What did I say?
You said Portland.
I'm sorry. I was trying to get to the next one.
Okay.
He went to Phoenix. Portland, with the next pick, drafted Cedric Coward, forward from what is this? Washington State.
Oh, the French guy's still on the board.
French guy's still on the board. No, he's not. He went to the Bulls with the very next pick.
Did he? Okay.
He went to the Bulls. The Bulls are interesting. They really shocked me coming down the stretch of last season. They put some dubs together. They look competent. Okay, they look good. They have a nice guard set up. This guy's slated at forward. Okay, you know they got some pieces over there. Now Patrick Williams has been a disappointment, massive disappointment. Yeah. But they got some things over there. In a bad East,
they keep getting some good games out of Kobe White that I don't like.
Yeah, you don't like Kobe White, but Kobe White is he's a solid piece. He's a very interesting piece. If he can string together some
and Billy Donovan's still the coach.
Billy Donovan's still holding on.
He's still like, how? Why? Like, he's just like, he seems to be immune to like normal NBA coaching stuff. Like, he could just coach, low average basketball at Chicago and his job's never in jeopardy.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on there?
Now, it's been some small trades. So the Grizzlies actually are going to trade up and get Cedric Coward. Okay, so now he's with the Grizzlies now instead of Portland.
Okay.
Okay, and then you also have Pelicans trading up to 13. So they traded, with the Hawks to get 13th pick. So we'll see what they do there. I just think
Who could they be looking for?
That's interesting, right?
It's their second pick of the round.
Yeah.
They got Jeremiah Fear in the first.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, maybe who are they looking to partner him with?
Yeah, that's interesting. We shall see.
Yeah.
All right. The Spurs got another pick coming up here in 2 picks.
Nice.
Then you got OKC right behind them. The rich get richer.
The rich.
The poor don't get a fucking thing.
No, but you talk about like OKC is interesting for like a guy that's going to be rated like the 15th, 16th pick in the draft on a deep team like that. Like your opportunities are really not there.
Well, they had a high lottery pick that didn't get any time. He tore his ACL. He didn't play much at all last season. And so he's going to be coming back next year looking for some time. He was a high lottery pick, like whatever, top 7, 8.
Yeah. No, but that's the point. Like for a guy who's 15 or 16, you're going into the championship team, and there's not necessarily going to be a lot of opportunity.
No, you wouldn't.
It can be completely stifling. The guy. Did you see the Agent Zero Netflix thing with him and Javaris Crettenton?
Yeah, I saw a piece of it.
But that was what, like, Crettenton, that was kind of him. He came to the Lakers as like a late first-round guy, whatever, and there was just no opportunity to play. Phil Jackson was there. He didn't tolerate rookies well, and it immediately got in his head and really sent him into a downward spiral.
Right. No, that's true.
So, I mean, what we're trying to say here is whoever OKC picks at 16 is about 2 years away from a homicide.
You said who?
Whoever they pick.
He's going to be trying to get the hell up out of there.
About 730 days away from a murder.
I know that was the last place Ace Bailey wanted to go to, man. He's like,
it's got to be about me.
He might retire before he go to a championship contending team.
Oh, Derek Queen, the 13th pick. Pelicans. I like it. We had said that was one of our guys.
Yeah, way to trade up.
So that's solid. They get Queen and they get Fear, 2 good players.
Okay, Pelicans.
Yeah.
All right. Not too shabby.
Makes the Jordan Poole trade make less and less sense.
Well, like I said, I mean, he was at his best version in Golden State, coming off the bench, firing up some shots, and you put him back in that role. I mean, Washington, they needed him to do too much.
How much did he drop on that Ice Spice State?
I don't know.
It was
a lot.
Well over 6 figures.
Yeah.
That says it all. You're not coming back.
They're not together anymore either. Is that a surprise?
Did you think they were? Wow. That's insanely optimistic.
No, it really is. You're still on the bench podcast with Bubba and Pink, home of sports, music, and mayhem. All right, let's see here. That really is a good move by the Pelicans, getting back up and getting Queen. I like that.
Yeah,
I do. Now you have the Spurs on the clock. Now, they Atlanta traded out of that pick. I think Atlanta Hawks could have used the Derek Queen. I don't know what Atlanta is doing. They need to surround Trey with some pieces. I mean, the number 1 overall. I mean, what was that? Number 1 or number 2 overall pick last year that they had?
That was the number 1 Rice hacker.
Right? Yeah. He showed some moments here and there. I think he can develop into a rotational big piece on a championship team. But they have some stuff. They just need like more. Yeah. And Trey, I mean, in a depleted East, Trey becomes more appealing to do something. You know what I mean?
But he's a guy that has to be surrounded by the right cast.
Yeah.
And so they have to
and they're not doing that so far.
Smart about that. It doesn't seem like they're doing that.
Not doing that so far. Unless they're going to make a big swing or something. I could see Trey and Giannis working if they want to. Because what's been reported.
Trey what?
Trey and Giannis. I could see that working.
In Atlanta?
In Atlanta. Because what's been reported is a lot of teams are like holding on to their stuff in hopes that the Giannis thing is going to be,
right, that it breaks loose.
That it breaks loose. So that's why Miami wasn't willing to put a Jovic and the other guy into that package. They want to save up enough stuff just in case.
Yeah, if Giannis comes on.
Yeah, Giannis comes available. So
yeah. No, we talked about that too. It's like, whatever that big domino is, you want to have the chips to get in that hand.
Yeah.
And if you piss them away on a suboptimal target, you're
just done.
You're as Michael Corleone once was, coming out of the bathroom with your dick in your hand.
All right, we're going to get back to we're going to come back to the draft, okay? And let's get a quick story in here now.
Yes.
The thing about today is I didn't have time to formulate the story in my head, so we're going to kind of go as we go here.
Gonna freelance it.
And it's always better when I get to formulate it in my head first. They're comparing him to Segun. That's interesting. Derek Queen.
Okay.
That's the player comp.
I like it because there's a little bit of unorthodox to his movements, like Sengun does. I can see that, and he's got a varied skill set. He can shoot it a little bit. He's got some awkward drive moves. I think he's perceived as like a passer as well. And the other low key thing, super best friend of Cooper Flagg. They played together at Montverde right here.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Who hasn't played at Montverde?
You and me. To name a few.
I didn't see that one coming.
I coached a game in Montverde.
Yeah, that's closer than I ever got. They won't let me in the parking lot unless I'm a paying customer. Now, okay, this story is surrounded by confidence. Okay,
On whose part?
confidence that was bestowed upon me.
Okay. You had a good hype man.
Something like that.
All right. Or a good hype woman.
Yeah, there you go.
Ooh.
So,
What kind of story is this going to be? The mind is racing.
yeah, I've told a bunch of various different stories that surrounds this story. So, number one, compared to a lot of my friends and people I went to school with and people in the neighborhood, I'm what they call jumped off the porch late. I got my first girl late, okay?
Okay. And
again, I've made a promise to kind of tell my stories, kind of just, how they're supposed to be. So it took a while before I got my first decent looking one. So what happened is,
you had to work your way through a couple pigs?
no, that's not the case.
That
was a joke. Like. That was a joke. Okay. And so
this lady's right now watching. Go, where was I at Bubba's?
That was a joke. So you go through, I go through high school with sort of nothing. I ended up talking to my my best friend's his cousin, right? And I don't really count that. We're kind of around each other every day. It's whatever. And but and we didn't even end up doing anything. And so you get all the way, and I have when I leave high school, right?
Yeah.
The year before college, okay, I get my first before I leave for college, I get my first whatever experience, okay?
Okay.
And then when I get to college, I already told a story about the long freshman year.
Pretty dry.
It was very dry on campus. Now I still got the at-home thing going that I just had kicked off right after high school, but on campus it's very dry. Okay, and then I don't know. I'm gonna tell you what happened, but in the time, I don't know what the fuck happened, but from sophomore year, for about 10 to 12 years, I had just an incredible Hall of Fame stretch. And
if you do say so yourself.
And I credit it all. And I rarely say names, but I credit it all to Brittany. Okay, so and what happened was one day. So I'm in sophomore year, and I'm in the dorm room. Now, all my boys know we all know what's going on with each other. You know what I mean? So they know I'm coming off a dry season. Sophomore year is here. Freshman year was tough.
Let's try and get Bubba involved in the offense. Get him a couple touches. And
remember, I'm coming off a freshman year where I was this close. I had a girl. I was macking coming off the beach. You know what I mean? The beach story. Then my roommate Rob. We spent all day at the beach, and we come back to the dorm room. and my roommate takes the girl I've been macking all day and smashes her right on the top bunk.
Yeah.
That's how rough the freshman year was.
Unforgettable.
That's how rough the freshman year was, man. All right.
I still remember Daryl Harden just go, that's tough.
That's tough, man. And so I'm in the dorm room sophomore year, and my boys, my roommates and homeboys, they come like, yo, you're not going to believe this, man. And I think it's a joke. And so it's a girl off the cheerleading team. They told them that, she liked me. She feeling me. Girl, cheerleading team, man. Just fucking.
Did she see you during your tryout at cheerleading?
No, this was even before that. That's what led me coming out there to see what was going on.
Okay.
So that's like, yo, she like, I'm like, man, get out of here, man. Like, cheerleader, she fucking fine as all. Like, what the fuck? What did she want with me? I know y'all are joking. This is like the era of pranking and all of that. So, you gotta be really fucking careful with these guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So now they really serious. They really serious. He said, Kobe said, top bunk is crazy. Right on the top bunk, man. That's the true story. I'm
like, what if they came through and you actually got injured?
You said I got injured.
I said, what if they were going so hard the bunk collapsed and you got like legitimately injured?
Stay on the bottom bunk all the time.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I ain't had nowhere else to go.
Would you do that?
Wait, which part of the story?
If somebody, kind of, snuck one past you at the last minute and took over the guy you were interested in, would you have stayed in the lower bunk?
No.
Well, first of all, I stayed because there's a small chance I could be next. You know what I mean? a guy who was a team player would have been like, you know what I mean? Hey, tap my boy. Huh?
Like, it's gonna be worth it.
Yeah. So and then if she was a decent woman, she would have gave me, you know what I mean? She would have grabbed my hand or something, reached down below. Hey, okay. But whatever.
So Bubba's staring up, listening, just hoping a hand on the side of the bed.
No, yeah, but I wasn't looking up, but I was listening. I mean, Rob was putting in some work too, man. Shout out to Rob, man.
Like it's a WWE match here. Man.
Shout out to Rob, man. He was putting in some work. But listen.
Very, very, very self-confident that you could admire the work of another guy.
I was like, damn, she chose the right one. You know what I mean? She made the right decision this day.
So, Bubba, you're the type of guy that watches porn for the men?
That's crazy. But listen, man, so they come in like, yo, Brittany, man, da-da-da. So I go, and I go check it out. So that's me going. I went to the practice or whatever. Because one of my homeboys was already there because it's a free ride, free scholarship. So that's why he's there. And so I go out there and that's when they tell me about the opportunity. Oh, you can get the free ride scholarship. I'm like, Chili, what the fuck, blah, blah, blah. So that's how I started. But then I'm able to, get connect with Brittany and all that. And man, like I said, just so fucking sexy, dog. And she gave me the confidence from there. You know what I mean? Now, I didn't, didn't do right by Brittany or whatever. But she gave me the confidence to go, to move forward. And then also I think,
if Brittany likes me, maybe other girls like me.
But not only that, I think seeing me around with Brittany and then seeing me around, I had a homegirl named Nikita. Now, Nikita wasn't like a romantic interest at all, but Nikita was very pretty. She from Ghana and all that. We were friends since freshman year all the way through to the end. And but seeing me around with Brittany, seeing me around with Nikita, that boosted my
your status.
My status around campus.
As long as you weren't perceived as the gay friend, it would boost your status.
No, everybody thought I was doing stuff with them.
Yeah, good.
And they didn't care.
Well played, Bubba.
So, you know what I mean?
They were just props for you.
And then somewhere in between freshman and sophomore year, then I got a beard. I think that helped too. And
somewhere.
And so I credit my stretch and my run to the beard and to Brittany, man. Shout out to Brittany, man. Shout out to Brittany, man.
That's good. You have good luck with
She
bees.
watches the show sometimes. She's married and all that stuff.
All right.
But who gives a damn?
But you didn't smash her at all?
No.
You get some head?
I'm gonna tell you something, man. Brittany was because she was the first fine chick I had, I put the coochie on the pedestal. That's what happened with that.
Yeah.
It's a classic mistake. A mistake I never made again.
Yeah. Good.
But you learn from your mistakes.
yeah.
And I put it on the pedestal, man. It's unfortunate, but it still, I used what I learned and what I gained from that.
Yeah. Only thing belongs on a pedestal is the Heisman Trophy.
Oh man.
The rest is just waiting to get run through.
Apparently so. I think she's up to like 4 or 5. No, that's a joke. That is a joke, Bree. That's a joke, Brittany. All right. But yeah.
That's good, man. That's the way you kind of just like pole vaulted yourself ahead.
Yeah. I think so.
Good work.
I appreciate it. All right. Let's see. What happened?
There was a commercial going on, and some lady had half of her shirt up, and she had these like horrible red lesions.
Oh Lord.
It was shingles. It's a commercial for shingles. We're not talking about roof shingles either. Wow. Hey, stay away from shingles, folks. It's pretty ugly.
Oh man. What let's get out of here on this. What did you think about the Orlando Magic trade?
Initially, I was just really fixated on 4 first-round picks. Just felt like a crazy amount of picks to give up for a guy. I'm still not happy with that, but I am getting a better sense of the importance of the fit that he may have, and bringing the shooting, bringing a little toughness, a little grittiness. The Magic at their best this season. We're a little bit of a gritty, feisty group, and I think he's the right player to put into that culture. And I do think it's a pretty good trade. I mean, hopefully we're not here, 6 years from now and realizing those 4 picks all turned into like really good NBA players and revitalized Memphis. But yeah, short of that, I think I can understand the trade and do that. So.
Yeah, I it was definitely too much, right? Now he does fit well, and he's a dog, and he plays defense, and he's a knockdown shooter. Magic were like been bottom 5 in 3-point shooting last year. Now, when you look at it from that aspect, I'm not sure how much one single person changes that, influences that. But also, my thing on this is, that's your move. There's no more like big moves for you to make, because you have your 2 guys are on rookie max contracts. They're not the whatever Kevin Durant, LeBron James type max contracts, but they are on max contracts. You bring in a Desmond Bane who is on a really big contract, and you give up pretty much, you empty your cupboard of assets to get them. So that's it. This is essentially your team. You can make fringe, moves around it. But I don't think that I don't think that was enough for you to finalize your team like that. But they are going to be competitive and spicy. And I guess that's in an East that is open. That's what you want, and that's the type of move, an aggressive move that you go and make with an East like this, the way it is. So. I guess
it really is, like as you're saying, it's really a huge endorsement of Paulo and Franz.
Yeah.
You're looking at this saying, hey, I have 1 and 2. All I need is 3. You're not entertaining that, what would I do to get Giannis here? What, does KD move our needle? You're like, no, I've got my 2 guys. I'm in the market for a 3 that fits my 2 guys. And that's a bold statement for guys that haven't won a playoff series.
Now, as much as we're unsure about Paulo, and I know you are, and I know I am, it's uncertainty. I am definitely, I'm out on Wagner.
Yeah.
Being a, whatever.
Yeah.
Even being a competent number 2, like a Jalen Williams or whatever, Jamal Murray when he's healthy. You go down the line in the league, I don't think he's any of those guys at all.
Right.
I think it could be a competent role player, a guy that you can bring in and do some stuff.
He might be more of a third.
Third, fourth.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, and it's not a move that I would make, and I would not feel that I have with this move secured a championship contending roster at all. Because I'm not big on the first two. I don't think the first two are really a first two.
Yeah. All right. Now we haven't done the NFL either with the Aaron Rodgers thing. Did you see that he says that this year is going to be his last year?
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah.
Which again, why are the Steelers so interested in being the graveyard for Aaron Rodgers? Like, why? What's going on there? And it's one of those things. If you get the best possible outcome of Aaron Rodgers, like a good season, another Mike Tomlin winning season, you're in the playoffs and you're out of the mix for, like the elite level quarterbacks available in next draft.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like you would have been theoretically better just rolling with Russ or Justin Fields or Mason Rudolph for that matter.
I think so.
Then maybe back your way into Arch, but it's odd. Again, I don't think doing that. I mean, apparently he took a team-friendly deal. He's shown up for camps, and he's kind of doing everything you would want your quarterback to do. Granted he's 40 years old or whatever. So, he's playing his part, but organizationally, I don't see the value of him for 1 year.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Doesn't move the needle enough for 1 year. I don't think they have a championship caliber roster, and I don't think he puts them over the top.
I don't. And but that's just we'll see, because they're so predicated upon having at least winning seasons. I guess that's very important to them to go at least one game over 500, and that's the goal for them. So whatever you set the goals, you make them, and you come out. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be doing talking about divisions like we normally do, and then also college football is right around the corner. We're going to be talking about your diehard Seminole and also a Florida State alum, diehard Gators guy. We'll get back into that and look at their season outlooks. That'll be interesting to do as well. Yeah. You got Kobe saying, "I'll be so happy once Rodgers leads Pittsburgh to first losing season of the year."
That's what's on the line. I mean, that's
That'd be
the wild outcome there is he leads them. And if it happens, I don't really want to talk about like Tomlin, but if it happens, I hope he plays like 17 games.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be
the
like
excuse.
they were 5-5 with Rodgers, and then they were 1-6 with whoever else. Now I want Aaron Rodgers to take the brunt of that losing season.
I saw something today that was talking about how eerie, like him and him and Brett Favre, how similar their careers are. Like they both entered the NFL as backups. They both eventually became the starter after a couple of seasons. They both had 15+ year runs as Packers quarterback.
Single Super Bowl victory.
Single Super Bowl.
The only two things that separate them are a dick pic and robbing the welfare system. That's it.
I guess Rodgers does have the weird drug stuff, but that's not illegal or anything.
It's not a dick pic, and it's not stealing from the poor.
But I guess dick pics aren't illegal.
I know, but it was just the way it came out was clumsy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers has never sent one.
I would assume he has.
I assume most people have. Most guys, at one point or another.
You think so? Yeah. I don't know. I don't think a ton of guys are into that.
Really?
Yeah. Especially it was an era for that, and I don't think. Yeah.
Well, I would say
for example, right now, I don't think
most guys that lived through that era.
Yeah. Most guys who have lived through that era.
I mean, they may not want to admit it. They may not be proud of it, but I think they did it.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. Kobe's asking you over under FSU 3 wins.
We'll be over. I'll kill everybody. I mean, come on. 3 fucking wins. The streets will run red with blood in Tallahassee.
Yeah, some of them have to go terribly wrong.
Yeah, we'll make Gaza look like a Central Park.
What do you have here? Stew, chicken, and rice. Now, is this a part of? Now, again, you're going to be in a competition, right? A food competition.
A cooking competition. Nice.
Is this going to be the dish?
I'm
You should have
working on
bought the
it.
dish. Huh?
It's
You're
like
not.
a
You say you're not sure yet.
Yeah, so I'm still working on it, but I'm
Okay.
gonna do noodles instead of rice for it.
During the competition, you might do noodles instead of rice.
Okay.
I'm assuming we can take your Tupperware.
All
Okay.
right.
You still gotta take some on the end.
Yeah, I'm gonna taste some now. Now, when is the competition?
Yeah, when in July? Where do you do this? Like, you have to cook like live in person, or
It's at so it's called Fusion Fest.
Fusion Fest.
I think it's held at Valencia.
okay?
So it's
Fusion Fest in July. And yeah, are you cooking there in person, or are you gonna bring
oh,
the
no,
food?
it's in person.
It is.
Yeah, I'm taking
It's what now?
3D.
It's in person. You're cooking in person.
I like
I
that.
think that's better, right?
Oh, for sure, dude, in person. Why not?
I get to go tour the kitchen on the 30th.
Okay.
So you tour the kitchen and see like if you need to adapt anything or bring anything extra with you. Okay,
This is good.
good stuff.
Yeah.
What is the if you win this, what do you get?
$1,000.
Oh, that's solid.
Yeah, it's really solid.
So it's
Taking home $1,000.
They have like a festival that goes on as well.
Bragging rights too, right?
But yeah, exactly.
Bragging rights go without saying.
But,
Oh, chicken's got a kick to it. I like it.
Yeah.
you get $1,000 at 6. It's 2 nights and it's six chefs on each night. I
Okay.
just got like braced in, so I'm like,
Okay.
Wait, it's $1,000 per night?
no, it's all together. But you
Oh,
just- they just
okay.
have it separate.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
I gotta cook or make like 40 plates for people, or 40 different like samples, not 40 individual plates, but 40. Plates.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you
Now,
gotta-
will it be open to the public?
Yeah.
okay.
And then people are gonna like they. I guess I'm assuming they have to pay to get in, and then you can like try everybody's.
Okay.
Would the people have? I wonder would the people have like a vote?
There's
Okay.
a little judge panel and stuff like that.
So what if you just bring the most people?
Well,
Oh no. You said there's a judge and panel.
Okay. So the money's going to be decided by the panel of judges, not like
think so.
the people just rolling
I
in
would
to
hope
get
so.
get a bite to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause that way, you could just bring the most people and then just get the most votes, even if your food
That's
is
true.
trash.
That's true.
If it's that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's a judge and panel, I think that's better.
That's pretty good.
Okay. All right. I got Warren, DJ Levy inboxing me.
Oh yeah.
If you haven't found somebody, oh. He's talking about
Is that post
something else, huh?
for the league?
Yeah.
What is it for? I mean, it's like just someone to cook.
Yeah. So yeah, you could sell your food at the GM5 league.
Talk about that.
Yeah. But Levy is probably talking about DJing it though, unless he can cook. I don't know. You know,
Secret
he's a big boy. He better be able to cook something, huh?
To do it all at the same time.
That'd be incredible.
talent, yeah,
Whipping out some dishes and keeping the music going. That would be.
He'll have to go up my list. Then,
He'd win hands down.
Shout out to DJ
The rest of
Levy.
you guys just got to focus on cooking. Like, I had to entertain everybody in here and cook.
Yeah. But it's a decent crowd that comes out every day. So yeah, if you can put something together, those guys are buy it up, man. Guys buy it up. We're hungry after running around for a couple of hours. I mean, I'm sitting down for a few hours on the bench, man. I'm still hungry, man. All right. But okay. As it gets closer, we'll talk about it on the pod.
Yeah, I'll send you some information.
Yeah, send me the information.
Wait, when in July? Because we're in July in like a couple days. Oh, the 10th?
July 8th.
July. Okay, yeah. So that's like a week and a half away, basically. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the reason more is because I'm probably going to start I don't know if I want to do a podcast or I want to do a Twitch, but I kind of want to do cooking as well.
Okay.
As well as commentary and current events and stuff like that.
That'd be good.
So I'm still trying to figure out what I want it to be.
Yeah.
It's going to be named Brown Stew Girl.
Brown stew girl.
Okay.
It'll be combined and
Hence the brown stew dish.
There you go.
Brown stew girl. Brown stew girl.
Writing a single, Bubba?
I can hit notes, but I didn't hit that one.
Let me clip it real quick.
All right. We'll catch you guys next week. That'll start the talk of our football talk and some more stuff, unless we get The oh man, what do they do over there? They do what Melissa? What do they do over there?
ACT.
Yeah, unless we get the ACT. But what's another word for it? People would know. Like, what do they do? Like, it's not massage. It's like
Chiropractic adjustment.
chiropractor adjuster. Unless we get
Okay.
unless we get the chiropractor adjuster in. Okay. I got a couple more people that's asked me to come on here too. I just gotta get back with them.
Yeah, man.
I'm bad with DMing people back.
Yeah, you gotta be on that.
Yeah. Maybe so. All right, we'll catch you guys next week. Appreciate